I remember my next guest on TV back in the 80s when I used to love Saturday night variety and comedy shows. Alongside Les Dennis and Bella Remberg and Russ Abbot, Sherrie was a very familiar face. And in the 90s, one of the funniest TV moments was wrestling on a waterbed in Coronation Street with Ken Morley. Sherrie is a national treasure today, and you can see her in the hit sitcom Benidorm, written by Darren Litton, or on ITV's Loose Women and Wonderbirds show on Facebook, which is a chat show created in lockdown. We talk about so much, including Marty Kane, John Thaw, Harris Orville, as well as her interest in this wonderful world of show business. To kick off our conversation, Sherrie tells me about why the brilliant variety shows started to fade away. Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Sherrie Hewson.
Had Carlton television not disappeared, I think Granada bought them, I think it would still be going, and it would have been a cult show because it was just brilliant to do. The sets were amazing. So I enjoyed, that was very funny. And then I did a series called Barbara with Gwen Taylor and Sam Kelly for 4 years, which was a really good comedy. But again, it was Carlton television. And once Carlton had gone, their programmes went with them, sadly. But, you know, so yes, I've done, ever since I left drama school, I was a drama actress, I did period drama, and then went into comedy with Thora Hird, with a show called In Loving Memory.
Oh, wow.
And I did that for quite a while, and then it kind of went on from there, do you know what I mean? But in those days, you weren't allowed to do drama and comedy. Strangely.
Okay, so you were pigeonholed, were you?
I was only one of the actresses that actually did. Don't quite know how I got away with it.
Really? Well, it was the theatrical agent Peter Eade that really saw something in you, didn't he? And he
came to RADA, and I was a very gauche sort of, I was very young when I went to RADA. I was only literally just 18. So he saw me, and I was probably 19 when he saw me, and very gauche, very kind of naive, silly girl, do you know what I mean? Had no finesse about me at all, no elegance, nothing. Not that I have now, but I'm just saying, I was one of those, you know, young girls that didn't have that. My mother was a model, you see, and she was glorious and glamorous, and I had none of that. And he just saw something in me, and he had what they called in those days a stable. So he had very few people, 15 people, which if you think about agents now, they have hundreds.
Yeah, they're more agencies rather than managers, and they can't concentrate on that specific number
they've
of...
got to make their money, you see, so the more clients they have, you know. But in my time, when Peter was a very rich man, so he didn't need to make money.
Yes.
So he had, I was the only young person. He had people like Joan Sims and Kenneth Williams and people like that. And that's why when I first left drama school, I went straight into a carry-on film, Carry On Behind, to get my equity card, which you had to have to work in those days.
It's always a catch-22, wasn't it, trying to get the equity. But to go straight into a carry-on movie, to get it, was not a bad move.
Well, I was quite overwhelmed, actually, because now we look back at the carry-ons and realise how truly wonderful those actors were. Kenneth Connor, you know, all those people, how clever they were.
Yes.
But when I went into the carry-on, you know, no one, they turned them out every year, didn't they? Yeah, and it was like a series, you know, I think there was, 34 of them or something?
Oh, was there really? Wow.
And I was kind of at the back end, and I consider Carry On Behind one of the last really good ones, because the music and the scripts were good, you know.
Yes.
And but I was just gobsmacked to be in the scenes with Joan Sims and the wonderful, of course, Barbara Windsor, who we've just lost. Kenneth Williams, who was formidable. I mean, absolutely formidable. And Kenneth Connor was one of the... I learned a lot of my timing. But the man I loved most of all was Peter Butterworth.
Oh, really?
Who became my mentor for my career, really. You know, I was offered a drama series, and he was the one that rang me and said, let's see the script, oh my God, you've got to do it, you know, it's wonderful. And it truly was wonderful.
Yes.
The first drama series I did called Love for Lydia, Jeremy Irons. It was amazing. We were all young and new, you know what I mean? And Peter said, "Oh, for God's sake, that's fantastic."
Yes.
So he was fabulous. So the Carry On, I loved it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Pleased to work with them, you know.
Yeah, Carry On Laughing you did as well, didn't you?
I did, yes. Many people don't know that. It was a television series. It's the only television series the Carry Ons did.
Okay.
And we did spoofs, like one was on Upstairs, Downstairs, all different things. And I loved it. And it was the old ATV studios where they now do EastEnders. And I loved it, but it was the only television series they ever did. I don't think they branched out into telly again.
Yes, yeah. You appeared in so many TV dramas and BBC plays, but your comedy roots started to show really around the early 80s, didn't you? With, like you say, the Russ Abbot television shows. Were they sketches that you took part in, Sherrie, or were they dance? You were a dancer, weren't you? A great dancer.
Well, I wasn't. That was the whole thing, because Les Dennis and I often talk about this because we were useless. I mean, more than useless. And we had a choreographer who would tear his hair out. But the funny thing was, Russ used to do a character called Julio Iglesias, or Double Glacy, sorry.
Oh, yes.
And we would be his backing singers, you know, and he'd do spoofs on Elvis, and, you know, he was called Vince Prince and we were called the Tone Deafs. And we would do these ridiculous dance moves and supposedly jive, and we were useless, absolutely useless. And, you know, none of us were singers either, although we did all the backing tracks, all of them. But there was a point I remember in the studio, somebody saying to me, oh, no, they didn't say it to me. They said to somebody, "Could we tell Sherrie to mime?"
Oh no! Hearing it like that, it breaks your heart, doesn't it? But I've done those seasons where, I mean, even the Christmas just gone, the December, I was in Clacton doing a Christmas show with our mutual friend, the lovely Andrew Robley, and yes.
Andrew.
And Andrew will tell you this, but the choreographer, they always pull their hair out when they're trying to teach a ventriloquist to dance in the finales, you know. And Tracy Illiff, a beautiful choreographer, I worked with her in Thursford last year when I hosted that. So, I mean, I warned her. I said, you know, you're going to have to spend a bit more time with me, or with trying to get some sort of choreography going on with two left feet. And I've got two left hands, but I puppeteer okay, but I just can't dance or sing. And so you try and shine in the ways that you do best, which is for you, which is just comedy. It's in your blood, isn't it? It's in your DNA, Sherrie.
Well, when I was at RADA, it was only classically trained actors came out of RADA in my time.
Right.
We do restoration comedy, you know, lots of restoration comedies, but it was mainly classical theatre. And so when you left, you were all expected to go to the Royal Shakespeare Company, then on to the National, and all of those. Now, in those days, you had to go into rep for 4 to 2 weeks.
Yes.
To get your card. You got a red card by getting it somehow.
Right.
I got mine through Carry On. And then you had to go into rep for 42 weeks to get your blue card, and you had to play everything that they threw at you.
Wow, that was a natural progression.
I was only 21, and the first job I got was a rather large Spanish woman who had 10 children in this very strange Spanish play. And she was supposed to be about 65, and I was 21. But that's where we learned our trade in rep, you see.
Yes.
So I didn't, again, in rep, I did a lot of dramas, never really did comedy.
Okay.
And so I didn't even really know I could do it, except Fado farces and things like that in drama school. But that wasn't, we didn't think anything about that. So when eventually my television career took off, before that I did a film called The Slipper and the Rose with Richard Chamberlain.
Okay.
And it was about Cinderella, and I played one of the ugly sisters. Now, that wasn't comedy so much as evil bitchiness, to be honest. But I was on that for a year. That's in those days, you were on things for a long time, and in Salzburg for a month, and so that took a year of my life. And then after that, the televisions came, but it was still drama. It never became comedy until I suppose you're right, actually. The Russ Abbot Madhouse.
Really?
Yeah, and it was probably early 80s, maybe, something like that, I don't know. Still doing dramas.
Yes.
And then I started to do the sketches with the fabulous Dustin G and Les and Michael Barrymore. And,
I know, yeah, Jeffrey Holland. Great names.
Jeffrey Holland, yeah. And they did fabulous sketches together, the boys. You know, they were the Beatles, they did every band in, those days.
Yes, I'd love to see those remakes.
Like Beach Boys. I forgot what they're called. They're all called silly names. But the main thing Russ and I did together was he was Basildon Bond.
Yes, wow.
And I was Miss Funny Fanny. and then the other one we did it on stage together, was he was Noel Coward and I was Gertrude Lawrence. I forgot what we were called. We were called silly names, of course.
Oh, fabulous.
I think we were called Noel and Gertie, to be fair. But so we did that together as well. And all period stuff. And it was funny. Very, very. And do you know, the Russ Abbot Show is one of the only comedies in this country that has never, ever been repeated on television.
Ice and Tea.
I was just thinking that. I'd love to see the Russ Abbot and all those Les Dennis shows again.
They've never repeated it.
That's strange.
We don't know why. Russ has fought long and hard for years with ITV and the BBC, because we were at both, to say why. You repeat everything else, but you've never repeated the Russ Abbot.
They're not lost tapes, are they? I mean, they're definitely out there.
They're not lost tapes. They're there, but for some reason, nobody knows why, and we can't get an answer at all, why they won't repeat them. Even on Gold, so they don't have to pay us anything if it's repeated on Gold.
Wow.
So, but not even on Gold.
That's so strange.
Yeah, isn't it? So, and nobody can find out. When you think we did it for years, there's masses and masses. The person who was amazing at this, Jeff Holland, saved all the tapes.
Oh, wow. Really?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
He's got all of them.
Has he? So it's not impossible for it to happen. So let's get a petition going. That'd be amazing to get behind that.
Because you see, Jeff then did Heidi High, of course, and that's repeated all the time.
Yes, it's always on.
Everything is except the Russ Abbot Madhouse.
That's crazy.
I know, it's weird. None of us understand it. Even Russ, with all his power that he had, couldn't get an answer out of any television studio.
Wow, how strange.
It might be to do with money, but you can put them on these places now where they don't have to pay you much. You know what I mean? They pay you threepence or whatever it is, or 50p anyway.
Really? Is that how they get away with it, by not paying royalties, by just putting them on the gold channels?
Well, they pay like 50p or something. I don't know what it is.
Oh, wow.
But, like if it's on mainstream, there has to be a deal struck.
Yes.
But in the old days, they used to pay you what you got in the first place. But nowadays, they strike a deal. Like Only Fools is on a loop, isn't it?
Yes.
It's on constantly, all day, every day. Well, there must be a deal with David Jason and Nick Lyndhurst. So that's how that works.
Yes.
I'm guessing because I know nothing about the technical side of it, but if you show it after a certain time, they don't pay actors so much, but.
Wow, that's strange.
You could show it, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's 40 years ago. Yeah. Oh, but no, we'd love to. That was my childhood, the 80s, I think. And I've said this to a lot of my comedy heroes, that the 80s were probably the best. Late 70s towards the early 90s. Those 10 to 12 years were the best.
With you, we do look back and we go, oh my God.
Yes, yeah.
You can't say that.
Oh, I know, yeah. There's that barrier as well, isn't there?
And we get that now. But, I did a pilot of Are You Being Served when I played Mr. Slocum.
Yes.
It was a pilot made with looking towards making a series. We didn't get it because Porridge got it instead.
Oh, wow.
But we did a pilot, and the criteria was if we got. They made loads of these pilots, loads of them.
Yes.
And the criteria was if we got 5 million, they would give you a series. Well, we got 7 million on that pilot.
Yes.
These days, that's a lot. And oh my God, Jason Watkins was Mr. Humphreys, and John Challis was in it, and Nicky Walden. It was just the best ever. Now, they show the real Are You Being Served again all the time on a loop.
Yes.
Constantly. But they're all on gold, you see, so you don't have to pay for
right.
gold. But so all those things in the 70s. In fact, they were showing one the other day, and I was quite shocked at the language. And I've forgotten which one it was now. It was Warren Mitchell, and it was quite shocking.
Yeah, he's kind of renowned for actually being in some of those shocking scenes, isn't he? And sitcoms that I think they started to ban. Yeah.
But you know, it is shocking, and we wouldn't do it now. But it was a period.
At the time.
These are period pieces.
Yes.
You have to go back to when they were made. I don't think they should be shown if they're offensive now. But what I'm saying is, it was the period we all lived in,
yes,
which was the 70s and the 80s. And you used language you wouldn't use now. Of course not.
For the Are You Being Served remake that you did recently make, was the script, the new script, was it obviously for the day? Was it updated? And obviously you wouldn't write again like you did back then. So
no, but you see, Darren Litton, who wrote Benidorm,
yes,
wrote the script for it.
Oh, okay.
And he'd already written 2 more episodes because we were supposedly going on to do the series. So but he'd written in. Not using that language they used, but I believe that because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. He used the period, but without what we might call now offensive language.
Those references, yes, and obviously Darren was a fan of the show, so he knew the premise.
Massive.
And
massive fan
okay,
of the show.
Yeah.
In fact, we text most days because you know it's on all the time.
Yes.
And the film is shown all the time, and I love the film. Hell's Bells, whatever it's called, that hotel we go to. So we text because although he's like 20 years younger than me, but we have the same kind of feeling towards those shows. You know, those wonderful
the classics,
old shows,
yeah. Yes.
And some of them. I mean, Robin's Nest, because I watch Talking Pictures on television.
Oh, don't they show some great remakes? Reruns.
Robin's Nest is on. In fact, it's just been on, and I love Richard O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was. Do you know he was a really, really very young child actor?
I have seen him as a child, actually. Yeah. In a movie.
He was in every film, and they're all on Talking Pictures, of course. And I just thought he was. I was going to say underrated actor, but maybe he wasn't underrated. Maybe people realised how clever he was.
Yes.
I don't know if they did, you know, but I just think he's brilliant. Now, Robin's Nest, you see. There's nothing that you might call offensive in that.
No.
And that was 70s, wasn't it? So
yes, it was. And it reminds me of that era of Windsor Davis, Donald Sinden, and you were in Never the Twain with those. I mean, those shows are wonderful to rewatch because
oh my God,
those classic.
Those 2 men were just beautiful men. I mean, fantastic. The other one was John Thaw I worked with.
Yes.
On his, with Rhys Dinsdale, which is now being shown all the time as well. And I did a Christmas special with John on this sitcom, and I played his girlfriend, and I totally, utterly fell in love with him. In real life, I completely,
did you?
and I've never forgotten it. He was just, John Thaw was a clever man. And that was a good comedy, you know, that was great.
I don't see John Thaw as doing comedy, so that's strange to hear. I didn't know about that.
Yes, God, I don't know why I forgot the name of it, because I watch it all the time.
I know he was in.
I think he's fantastic. Who is now in Emmerdale, of course.
Okay, right. Wow, it's one big family, really, isn't it?
Well, we all come from the same time. That's the thing.
Yeah, back in the mid-70s, I know you were in Z-Cars, which I know I spoke to John Challis and Derek Martin, and they had so many iconic actors in there. John Thaw, Brian Blessed.
Well, the funny thing thing is about Z cars is that when I left RADA, which was 71,
Yes.
I did. This is really strange. Now, this used to happen all the time. This is a strange story because, in fact, in Loving Memory that I did with Thora,
Yes.
I did the whole series with Thora and Christopher Beanie, and I married Christopher Beanie in it, and that was the end of the series. But before that, I think it had been going about 8 years. I'd been in it 3 times as different people.
Really?
But Z Cars was the one show that all of us did. And I was in that probably 4 times as 4 different people with 4 different wigs.
That's crazy. It's like a sketch show in a way.
This used to happen all the time. And I was 4 different people. And I remember, so I went in really, really early, which would have been about maybe 72, 73.
Yes.
So I was only 22 or something, or whatever I was. I can't remember the first person I was, but I think the first person, because I used to have very dark chestnut hair. So that was the first person I had dark chestnut hair, whatever I was called. Then I was in it again the following year as a blonde person. 4 different people.
So did you use 4 different voices?
Actors in Z Cars.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's a bit like The Bill as well, and all those shows. Everybody I know that is still going.
They started.
Z Cars. No, not one. They often did 2 or 3 of different people.
That's so funny.
The weird thing is now when you look at it, you'd come back as somebody else, act with the same people, they'd have to pretend you were somebody else.
Isn't that strange? Did you use different voices or accents?
No.
No, just a different wig.
Just a different wig.
Oh, that's funny. But I know they had people like Leonard Rossiter, Kate O'Mara, Alison Steppen, Robert Powell.
Everybody.
Oh, it's amazing.
Everybody.
It's a starting ground.
If you look back over the cast list of Z Cars,
Yes.
you'd be gobsmacked.
Wow, that is incredible.
Everyone wanted to do it as well. Everybody wanted to be in it. In those days, of course, don't forget that television, theatre, film, you would work every day of the year, probably. In fact, Thora Hurd, who I did In Loving Memory with, I remember her telling me loads of stories. And she would say, because she came from an era, don't forget when films were massive.
Yes.
And she said, she'd often do like 6, 7 films a year. Not necessarily big films, but they never stopped.
Yeah, but they're all on talking pictures now, aren't they? And they are lovely little movies to watch, aren't they? They're really
great movies. Great period movies.
Yes.
You know, I love black and white, you see, because I collect black and white movies.
Oh, wow.
And it's the atmosphere a black and white movie can create, which we can't do in quite the same way now.
No.
But the funny thing is, I came from a period when you used to do like filming outside. So the technology wasn't as massive then.
Yes.
So we do what they called. Have you heard of this? It was called Day for Night.
No.
Right. It's funny now because when I watch things, it makes me laugh. So what it was, so they wouldn't film at night because they didn't have the kind of technology,
the lighting, right?
And everything.
Yes.
So they used to film in the day and pretend it was night.
How'd you get away with that?
So, and now, when I watch it, you can see the sun. It's supposed to be 10 o'clock at night. So what you do is they bring the lighting in and sort of shade you to make it look like it was nighttime. But often when I watch these films now, you can see as they're walking by the sun in the background.
Oh, that's hilarious.
They just missed that bit, do you know what I mean? And it makes me, it was always, and you'd have it on your script. So we're doing Day for Night tomorrow. So you do it in the afternoon. So you do it about 4 o'clock,
Yes.
3 o'clock. But they shade you because it's supposed to be like 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't think anybody ever remembers Day for Night.
Yeah, it seems to be confusing, really. You imagine, why has that milkman got a suntan? Yeah. What is this? That's crazy.
Also, you'd see shadows, you see.
Yes.
The sun would make shadows on the ground.
Oh, look at that moon shadow.
So you'd know it was daytime, not
Yes.
nighttime.
Yeah.
It's funny when I look back now, no one ever talks about those days, but of course it's just because the technology wasn't as
Of course.
now.
That's
You know what I mean?
amazing. I'd never known that. That's incredible.
Ice and Eve.
Kind of funny, isn't it, in a way?
I know. Oh, I'm full of useless information.
Well, yeah, your information comes from so much experience. And if you don't mind me talking about more of the comedy shows that you've been in, you did do 2 episodes with Little and Large, and we lost Dear Ed last year, and how sad. But such great TV shows on the Saturday night, and you were doing more sketch shows.
I did. As I said, I can't think of anybody I didn't work with. Jim Davidson. I did a series with Jim Davidson.
Home James, yeah.
Home James, and really, that must be the 70s, I guess. I really don't know. But I remember Jim and I had to do this scene. People know of Jim for what Jim does and is. I know another side of Jim, a very gentle side of Jim. But I also know another side, which is the actor, which he never really pursued. But I remember in this, he was the chauffeur and I was the housekeeper. It was silly nonsense and everything. But one day there was a very sad scene and he had to come and sit on my bed and talk to me about something. And he was honestly wonderful. He was gentle. The pathos was amazing. And then I did Cinderella with him at the Dominion.
Oh, yes.
And he was the best Buttons in his day I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he had such pathos with Cinderella, and the audience just fell for him. And then, of course, he'd go into the silly Jim, and the raucous Jim and the rude Jim.
Yeah.
But the other side of him, which he never really pursued as an actor, I suppose because he didn't want to. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing in him that wanted to be an actor, but
yes,
he could actually do it. Really
I suppose he's hidden that side, hasn't he? And he comes across as kind of this hard character, comedy character, but he's got a soft side to him, which is...
Well, he did. In those days, he certainly did, when we did Home James. He was a clever boy, but he was a very funny boy. And, of course, the money came from stand-up.
Oh, definitely.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
He's got a very clever mind. Acting. Yeah.
And I kind of really appreciate that because, we all have to earn, and his big earning was from stand-up.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stand-ups and impressionists that had a lot of shows around the day as well. And I think a lot we owe a lot to the producers, the John Fishers of the day, and David Bell, who put a lot of these shows on. And
I worked with David Bell.
There's this wonderful show called The Comedy Crowd.
Yes, I did. But I did. And there were some fabulous people in that. But one day, David wasn't really that keen on me doing comedy, only as like a feed, like I did with Russ.
Straight
but
part.
One day, there was do you remember? You won't remember. There was a little lady, American lady. What was her name? I can't remember. She was like she was a really craggy old lady, and she used to do, oh God, I wish I could remember her name. I'm not going to remember it, but she used to do give people advice, but in a really kind of craggy, it's an American woman. It was
Dr. Ruth, not Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth.
Okay, yes.
Do you remember? Oh, you won't remember her.
No, I do remember her, yeah. She's like this Jewish little lady that told you about your sexual problems.
You remember her, yeah. So one day I said to David Bell, because we did a sketch show live, I said, oh, let me do Dr. Ruth. He went, why? I said, because she's funny. Anyway, so the script was written, and he said to me, I don't agree with this, really. I don't agree with this. So he was not mad on women doing comedy at that time.
Really? Wow.
There was only Marty Kane.
Yes.
The wonderful, wonderful Marty Kane that really did that at that time.
Okay.
Anyway, so we did it, we rehearsed it, and he went, it's very funny. It's very funny, you're very funny. And I look like Dr. Ruth. Anyway, I did it on the night, and the audience loved it. And it was funny. And then he came to me after and said, I can't put it out.
Oh.
I went, why? He said, no, it's against all my principles, Sherrie. All my principles. I said, so why have you got me in the show? He said, because you're a funny girl. I said, so why can't I do one as a thing on my own? He said, no, it's against the law. And I never understood till the day he died why he wouldn't do it.
Oh, that's so strange.
I was really sad because I loved it, and it went down really well, but it was just a sign of the times,
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen now because, I would do it now. But, I look back on those times and realise that, it was a different take on things, that's all.
Yeah. Do you think it was a problem with a female being more upfront in the show? Was that the problem?
I mean, if you think of Marty Kane, she was the only one.
Yeah.
And she was big. Marty Kane was big and funny.
Oh, she was huge,
I mean, I saw her live and she was just brilliant. But if you think of that period, I can't think of another person that was doing what she was doing at that time. I can't think of anybody. It came from her. Everything stems from Marty Kane. Yeah. And in my opinion, and women got stronger and stronger, and cause they were funny, but they never had, they were never allowed to do stand up like that. They were always the feed. Yeah. The sexy blonde. And they were always. I fed Russ all through the Russ Abbot Madhouse. And we all got it in those days, but then it changed, and women came to the front. And that was
definitely.
fabulous.
And I guess the doors were opened by Marty. I know Hilary O'Neill talks very fondly of Marty, and I guess you got French and Saunders kind of come next, didn't they? I guess.
Yeah.
After
and
Marty,
all those girls then came forward.
Victoria Wood. Yeah.
Victoria, of course, and but it came from Marty, because Marty, if I'm right, somebody might put me wrong, but I believe she was the first.
Yes.
Proper stand-up woman on her own, proper funny woman.
Wow, I heard she was very powerful.
Take a stage like the men of the time. I mean, I remember Russ taking a stage and watching that audience, and watching him work an audience, and I was gobsmacked. And then I saw Marty do it, and I thought, you see, women can do it. It's just that they never get the chance.
Yes.
But of course, then it changed, and everything changed.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Eyes and Teeth.
Just mention a few of the names on the comedy crowd. Yeah, Agent J. Harvey, Alan Stewart, Martin O'Connor, and Tony Slattery. Some really great names that you worked with on that.
You see, Tony Slattery was my mate, and I love Tony. Very clever, very funny, but they all were.
Yeah,
Alan,
yeah.
Aidan, they were all clever, and they're all still around.
Great talent.
Massive talent. Alan Bell knew how to cast things. Now, I was the only woman in there, you see. That's why he found it difficult.
Oh, David Bell, yeah.
I was there to be a feed, really.
Okay.
And that's why he found, all those fabulous men. And then there was me, because he had to have a woman in the show. It couldn't be all men. He found it difficult to accept that maybe I could stand up on my own and do something. Yeah,
you felt like you had to keep proving yourself, which is a shame.
All the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, and even when you'd got Victoria Wood and French and Saunders and all those girls, you still felt you were fighting.
Yeah.
It was still the men that had the funny roles and the funny lines, and you came in with the feed. We fought for that, and now, of course, it's completely changed. Maybe it hasn't completely. Maybe women still have to fight for them.
Well, you are fighting, and I guess that's why there's no men on Loose Women, because you're fighting still, and that's such a great thing with Wonderbirds and Loose Women, that you are making that stand. But it seems to be a natural progression now that you're all comfortable in that, and it needs to be accepted, in different parts of businesses.
I think so. You don't need a man to validate your existence as in life. You know what I mean? As in comedy, as in life. And I think Luce did it. Now, Wonderbirds, we've been doing this for a year now, and it's been hugely successful. 6 million views over, I think the first 8 months, which is phenomenal. But we do get fabulous guests. Yes. And, like we've got Eamon Holmes on Friday, who I've known Eamon's. When I first went into Coronation Street in 1993, I remember it so well. It was January, and I was at the V&A Hotel, and I don't quite know why there was a party, but it was a party, and Eamon was there, and in 1993, he had all this black hair, very handsome boy now, and I always remind him of it, and so I've loved him all that time, and I just think he's one of the best we have. I really, really.
He seems to be very honest, doesn't he? He says as it is, and he's very funny. I had a pint with him. I'm dropping some names. I had a pint with him and Shane Ritchie when I done this charity event for Comic Relief, and Eamon and Shane. They were just blokes, you know, that they say as it is, and he's a real person. Eamon is, isn't he? He's just real.
Oh, Eamon is just. I love him. He's just so out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I'm sure Ruth says to him, just watch what you say.
Yeah. I don't think he listens, but I think she does say that. And,
he doesn't care. He's been around since God was a boy, and he can do it. He's a brilliant broadcaster, brilliant presenter, funny man. And I just adore him. I think he's such a clever man.
Yeah, he gets the best out of people.
And Shane, who did Benidorm with us, of course.
Oh, yes.
And he loved Benidorm. And then we did the stage version of Benidorm, which went to storm. I've never seen audiences. In all my years, I've never seen audiences react.
I think the fan base, the fan base that it's created is incredible. And I think... really hope the stage show comes back, because I missed it the first time round.
When we used to go out at the end, you know, the rest of the cast would go up to their barrel, and then us six would walk out, and the roar. And I said to the boys, you will never in your careers ever hear a roar like that again.
Wow.
It hit you. It hit you in the face. Everybody was up, and they just screamed as we came out at the end. And I said, you will never hear that again in your careers. Never. Because in all my hundreds of years, I've never heard a roar like that. It was the love of the show, the love of the characters, the love for Darren.
Yeah.
You know, and it will remain forever.
It's truly British, isn't it? Truly British holiday makers. It's so real to life. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say, Sherrie, that I never saw Benidorm until Lockdown 1. And me and my wife Netflixed it from Lockdown 1 to Lockdown 2. We've watched every episode. We love you. We love you for it. My wife said, you need to get Sherrie on if you can. I said, I'll try. But we adore you in that. And it's been seems to be such a fun atmosphere to be working in. Not just because it's Benidorm, but the cast.
Will look back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I miss Benidorm because it's such an amazing place.
Yeah, it's great.
And the beach is one of the best in the world. It's a totally white sanded beach.
Yeah.
And it really was. You know, when we all think back now to the wonderful time, 10 years it went for.
It's incredible.
10 years in a sitcom is a long time.
It's a long time to be actually out there. How many months did each
5 months a
season?
We were out there.
So that's 5 years of your life in Benidorm.
It's ludicrous, really, because when you think about 5 years, 5 months a year for 10 years, I only did 8 years, I have to say. But,
yes.
And we used to go out, and I remember we used to go out around about the 10th of March, and remember going to the plane, because we'd take out cold weather stuff first,
right.
because March and April's cold.
I was there then, yeah.
Back, and in May we'd take our hot stuff out. I remember in March the 10th, landing Alicante, and those mountains, and driving to Benidorm. I can see it now as if I'm there.
Oh, Constantinople.
And it's something, I think it's one of those, like, Only Fools and Horses. It will be forever.
Yes.
Ever and ever, and never be forgotten. But the live show was just, I mean, honest to God, if you'd have heard that audience, we used to see them rocking backwards and forwards with laughter.
I'd love to see it. And was it scripts that was used from the show, or was it brand new written from Darren, the stage?
Darren wrote the new script.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he wrote it, yeah.
And I'm hoping you're going to say that this was filmed for possible future DVD, or...
Darren never allowed it to be filmed.
Oh, okay. Not even on your phone.
I don't know why, actually. He used to say, no, this is for the stage. I think he didn't want it on DVD.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that's for the fact that it can keep going for hopefully another 5-10 years. You know, hopefully it will. You're not sure.
Darren wrote Scarborough, of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw Scarborough.
I've not seen that yet, no.
No, that was on about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And that was his new sitcom.
Oh, brilliant. I'm still to catch up with that.
Yeah, but that wasn't recommissioned, so
Okay.
he only did one series of that. I can't remember when he even did it, because I've lost track of life with this pandemic.
I know.
We lost last year completely, didn't we? That's gone. We don't even know where last year went.
No, but we're talking about, I don't even think people will reference 2020 in a way of work, where work is concerned, apart from me watching the whole of Benidorm.
In 2020, did it?
No,
Nothing.
no, nothing did. I started the podcast and I tried to finish my book. I'm writing a book on ventriloquists, and so so I'm getting there. I mean, and editing the book now. I mean, while I'm on that subject, you worked with my dear friend Keith Harris in Panto at Wolverhampton, and so and you played a baddie that hated ducks.
That's right. Now I have met Orville because there's a museum in London.
Yes.
As you'll know it, where all the ventriloquist dummies are.
Oh wow! Is it not at the Water Rats? Is it?
It's I can't remember the name of the road it's on. Did some filming in it. Orville's there.
Is it the Gray's Inn Road at the Water Rats pub?
It must be. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Pardon.
Yes. Well, I was actually keen in getting Orville in that museum because I spoke to Keith. And I said, because I am a water rat, as Andrew Robley is, and Keith Harris was. And we were talking about bringing Orville into the museum, and Keith allowed it to happen. But sadly, it happened just after he passed away, but I made sure that we brought him in. Oh, so you filmed it in the museum?
Yes, I filmed in there. I can't remember why I was doing it now.
Was it a talking head for something?
It was talking about ventriloquist dummies.
Oh, wow.
And it was about Lord Charles
Okay.
and all of those.
Ray Allen, yeah.
I did a panto in Llandudno with another ventriloquist. What's his name?
Kieran Powell.
Yeah, yes.
He's a young lad, yes.
But it was before that I did this. And then we went and Orville, I remember going in and they said, oh, just go in the room because we're filming and you'll see something. And I went and of course Orville was sitting on the chair.
Yes.
But when I did work with Keith, it was in Wolverhampton. I remember the doc, and it was a very strange relationship Keith had with Orville, I felt.
Right.
Because he didn't have the same relationship with Muddles.
Okay, Cuddles, yeah. Right.
Cuddles, I call him Muddles, I don't know why Cuddles.
Oh, it's Panto, they're related.
I thought that was strange because he treated Cuddles quite roughly.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
Slam him down on a chair, where Orville was treated like the most precious thing in the world.
Yeah, as a ventriloquist, I think it may be to do with mechanicals or the eyes in Orville put him down carefully so he doesn't break.
No,
but...
I know. It's just I always thought the relationship.
Oh, okay, right. You're thinking more deeply within the psychology of it. Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting.
I used to watch him with Orville, and he'd talk to him at the side of the stage before we all went on.
No, okay.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And in his dressing room, I could hear him talking to Orville. But he never talked to Cuddles.
I don't think they got on. I think Orville made him more money, you see. So
I think it might be that.
Yes, yeah, possibly.
I felt sorry for Cuddles.
Oh, did you? Oh. Maybe that's how he got his name, because he needed more cuddles, you know.
Yeah, but he was very funny with him, though.
Yeah, he's a genius with Cuddles. It was very. I mean, Cuddles was created before Orville was, and so he was the mainstay really of the act. And then Orville came along.
Very clever.
Yes.
Because sometimes he'd do the song sheet for some reason, I can't remember why, and he did it with Cuddles.
Yes.
And it was very near the knuckle, I have to tell you. It was very close. And in fact, I saw him do a little bit closer in a private audience. Well,
oh, really?
Right, okay. but with on stage, it was very near the knuckle with Cuddles, but never offensive.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he knew how to gauge it, Keith did. He was very clever with that. with the comedy aspect. Wow.
Yeah, of course, and he knew what to do. But very clever. And then we had the Cuddles. We had the Orville that could fly.
Yes,
but
yeah.
He didn't.
The Panther Orville.
Ever did fly.
Oh, did he not?
No, only because something to do with the wires or something. It couldn't go round the auditorium, or I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know how
okay.
it flew anyway.
Oh, because I guess that was the crescendo at the end of the act, really, or end of Panto, where because he goes on about not being able to fly, doesn't he, in this song?
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard.
He didn't fly, but what he did do, which I always found. I mean, I was standing next to Keith, so I don't know why I found it amazing. Is when he'd leave him, and of course Orville would sit there, and the audience would go, "Oh my God!" and then Orville would talk.
Come to life, yeah.
And I think that always gobsmacked the kids.
Yeah. It's a very powerful piece. That it really is nice.
Oh my God, it was just, obviously I was standing next to Keith. I was standing the stage, so I knew how it happened. But even so, it was so powerful.
Wow.
And very sad. Very sad.
It was sad. He knew how to make people laugh, but again, pull at your heartstrings, which I guess it's a sort of thing Ricky Gervais does. He can have you laughing 1 minute and then a tear running down your cheek. Wow.
The best comics in the world are like that.
Yes,
They're the one. Well, they're the clowns, aren't they?
Definitely, that's what it is. They are clowns without the makeup.
Clowning, yeah. I mean, look at Mr. Bean, how successful that was for Rowan Atkinson.
Truly incredible.
But it was a total clown.
In your book, Look Behind the Laughter, which I bought this week, it's a very candid autobiography. A lot of sad stuff in there, Sherrie. And but you will also remember the first time you got a laugh in front of a crowd at school, but you were only 4 years old. It was for the wrong reasons you got that laugh, wasn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. I weed all over the stage.
Yeah.
Only because when I was 4, it was quite daunting. I'd done my tap routine to be on a stage, and all those people think I was funny.
Right.
And I think that's, and I always say when I do after dinners or ladies' lunches or everything, I tell that story. And I always say, but don't worry, I won't be doing it today. Do you know how things stay in your mind, and you get pictures, don't you, that stay in your mind for some weird reason?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And that has still, even then, has stayed in my mind, and that picture is still there with me with my tap shoes.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been on stage for a very long time.
There you have it. It is an incredible history. I mean, you said pretended to be someone else came as natural as breathing to you, but you've played so many characters. Do you feel like you hide behind the character?
I think that's what actors do. But as soon as I started to present, which was probably loose, I guess that was 2002, I think, then you have to use you.
Yes.
And then what a lot of actors don't like doing that because you've nowhere to hide, because you're talking about you.
Definitely.
And what I did learn from all those years of presenting, I've done a lot of documentaries, I've done a lot of presenting, lots of other things, is that you have to be honest about you. You can't pretend. You can't act being sad or act being funny or act being shocked.
No.
It has to be authentic.
Definitely, yeah.
And the authentic you is what people want to see.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're quite shocked knowing you
sure.
and your real life. Because I have got some shocking things in my past, but the point is unless you're authentic, unless you have credibility, people won't buy into that. They'll go, "Oh, I don't believe her. She's telling lies."
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the one thing to learn when I talk to young actors. I always say to them, never let the capital A show. Meaning never let anybody see that you're acting.
Right.
Because it's about being there. It's about whatever you're doing, whether it's presenting, whether it's a part, it's just about being that person.
Yeah, never let them see that.
Don't do any of that acting nonsense.
That vulnerability as well. Yeah. I mean, as a ventriloquist, I've done this since childhood, hiding behind the puppet. It is a very confidence thing, I think. But I guess on Loose Women, you have to be you. You're putting yourself out there. And you've become more comfortable as you, haven't you? I guess thanks to Loose Women.
And Wonderbirds is my most comfortable now.
Yes.
Because I guess it's the age I am, it's everything I've been through, this pandemic, and then, I have grandchildren, daughter, and, my life is is the real life. It's not about the acting life. When I look back, and I did a drama 300 years ago, and somebody sent me a clip, and I thought, oh God, I was awful. I was really awful in it. But I was very young.
Yes.
And, and you have to learn your trade, and you only can do that by experience. I mean, I've been lucky. I've worked with some fantastic people in my time.
Yeah.
I've met them, Margaret Lockwood and Steve McQueen and, Kenneth Moore, and people that I've met and worked with in my life. And every time I always say to young actors, well, whoever you're with, learn from them. Watch them and learn.
Listen to them,
You something. They'll teach you something. But if you don't look and don't learn, you'll never grow.
Definitely.
And so I still, to this day, learn. I still watch Judi Dench, as I did when I was a very, 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 very young actress in Nottingham, where I come from.
Yes.
And I remember her on stage doing St. Joan. And I lay, because I wasn't allowed to be there, I lay on the floor behind some seats, and I watched her from that floor most days.
Wow.
I have never forgotten it.
They say
and then years later, I did a drama series called My Son, period drama, and I played Michael Williams, her husband, his wife, and that was a full turnaround to me. And we filmed it in Truro, and she came down. She won't remember, and I met her, and that was I didn't tell her the story about hiding in the auditorium.
Oh.
But that was the full turnaround, and so I've been so privileged to meet such wonderful people and learn from every single one of them all my life.
Incredible.
And I'm still learning.
Yeah, they say if you're going to learn from the best, and you have, and that just truly shows, doesn't it? And you never forget that. Yeah, I mean, Wonderbirds was set up for 2020 in obvious reasons, to have a laugh and connect with people and your friends. I was watching yesterday, or a couple of days ago, and it does just that. You're at home chatting on Zoom, having a coffee, and you seem to be reminiscing, keeping happy, and that process seems to help you through this awful time, and even spending time with your daughter Keely.
And we do talk about, I try to keep it upbeat, Wonderbirds, but we do talk about the dilemma everybody is in now. Nobody knows really if they can go out, who they can see, who they can't see, and then there's a lot of people who live on their own. I live on my own, but I see my daughter and grandchildren most days because I'm in their bubble.
Yes.
There are people that are very still in a state of shock of this horrible pandemic that. And, as something that's happened to the world that's never happened ever. I mean, my dad was in the war, used to say that was the best time of his life. And I used to say, why? He'd go, well, I said, but Dad, you'd wake up and next door's house would be bombed. Oh, your house would be bombed. He said, yes, darling, but no matter what, the next door would call you in and go, come on, bring what you've got left. There's a bed here, or there's a set here. You can stay here. We'll feed you. We'll get you. And he said the camaraderie was absolutely incredible. Now here it's slightly different because people are trapped in their homes, not being able to go out.
Yeah.
Not being out, and so we do kind of touch on that on Wonderbirds, but I still try and keep it upbeat because we've all got to have hope.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope that this is going to be over in the next couple of months.
Yeah, definitely. The other day you're talking about losing your mobile phone, and you were actually on the phone to someone saying, I can't find my phone. And you were saying...
Amanda Barry, who's my best friend.
Yeah.
And I was literally in tears because I don't know about you, but I get into a terrible panic if I can't find my phone.
I do, but then when I've lost it and know I've lost it, I relax because I think, okay, I'm okay. I hope I don't find it, and I don't want to get another one. And then business tells me I need to keep my phone because I'm not going to get work.
Everything's on this phone. But the stupid thing was, I was talking to Amanda Barry and telling her, and she said, "But what are you talking to me on?" And then I looked at my hand and I got my phone.
I've done, and you did say on Wonderbirds that I'm going crazy. I must be, but I remember doing that 4 years ago, and when I was 41. Don't worry, it's not an age thing. It's one of those things, like the glasses on my head thing. You know,
the glasses on
it's
my
a human
head, I do
thing.
that all the time.
We're all human. And we're just wrapping this up, but you've been so lovely. Thank you so much, Sherrie. You're so recognisable in the world of British comedy. You're an icon. And after I was on Britain's Got Talent in 2013, I was watching Loose Women with my wife on the Monday morning following that, and you name-checked me and said some lovely things about me as a performer. An entertainer never forgets that when they hear something nice. So this is my first opportunity to say thank you for what you said.
That's okay. I think we all need to stand by each other and, and be there for each other.
Yeah.
All of us need to do that, and I really believe in that. I really, really believe in that. And when I see people, I often go up and go, "Can I just say I think you're wonderful?"
Oh.
And they go, "Oh my God!" I go, "I know. I'm sorry. I just have to come and tell you," because I just think we need to do that.
It means a lot, doesn't it? Yeah.
And particularly now, we all need to care.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm saying that, I'm going to go and text Andrew Robley now.
Yes, tell him you've been with me.
He'll be delighted. I know.
Give him my love, because I speak to him most days anyway, so...
Yeah, I think he was speaking to you in the rehearsals when I was rehearsing the Christmas show recently, but he loves you dearly, I know that. But Sherrie, we all love you. Thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you.
Good luck with Wonderbirds. It's brilliant.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, good luck with everything. Bye.
Thank you, Sherrie.
Ice and Teeth.
Well, that was brilliant. What a fantastic chat. I want to thank the gorgeous Sherrie Hewson for today's show. The show with herself and John Thaw was called Home to Roost. You probably Googled it by now. I mean, how is Sherrie to remember everything she's done when she's done so much? If you'd like to see more of Sherrie, Benidorm is on Netflix, and you can find many of her shows on YouTube, Prime or BritBox. And we should think about that petition to get Russ Abbott's Madhouse shows reruns back on our screens. You can follow Sherrie on Twitter at Sherrie Hewson and check out Wonderbirds show on Facebook and YouTube. Today's comedy quote comes from a part interview with Marty Kane talking to Michael Parkinson.
So, how did the comedian bit start there?
They used to laugh at me singing.
Did it? I don't believe that at all. You're a very good singer, actually.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
Well, maybe it's because I even now I stand rooted to the spot. I can't move it. It's very private singing, especially lyric songs. If you feel a lyric and mean a lyric, I can't sort of go, like that, because something falls out or something.
When I met you for the first time, it's all of 6 years ago, isn't it, since you were last on?
Have you been saving up to have me on again?
I've been saving up all the time, yeah. I mean, you just started off in your career then, and since then a lot's happened to you. You've become a very big star. I just wondered how you're treating stardom. I mean, do you ever have to sort of feel the need to disguise yourself nowadays?
I used to, because I find people stop and talk, and I'm a terrible talker. I'll talk while ever they want to talk, I'll talk. And I never get anything done. So I used to I feel utterly silly in a wig because they say, "Ew, you look just like Marty Kane, are you?" And I say, "Yeah," and they say, "Go on, you look nothing like her." So, you feel silly in a wig. But I used to, in fact, we went to look at, when we're buying houses, if you're buying a house or a car or anything like that, they see you coming and put another 4,000 on the bill.
That's right.
They suffer under the delusion that you're loaded, which I'm not. Unfortunately. And I went to look at a house once in a black wig and sunglasses. And this guy said, "Of course, Marty Kane's thinking of buying this house. We've heard that he's coming round. Terribly brash woman." I'm saying, "No, awful. That's what hoping that the wig didn't fall off."
And what about mail? You get lots of exciting fan mail.
Not about exciting. I get nice letters, constructive letters. I've had one kinky one. If you can call it kinky. It was from a 19-year-old boy who said, 19-year-old man who said, unlike my friends, I like older women. And can you send me a picture in black stockings, you see? So I got my MD to take a Polaroid of me wearing a black stocking over my head.
Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Lola, Larissa and Nina Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Kevin Dean. Thank you for listening to Eyes and Teeth and the Mammoth Season 5. There will be 10 seasons altogether, so today marks my halfway line. If you are enjoying what you hear, then please download, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and share with your friends and family. And finally, if you have time, please leave a review. See you next time on Eyes and Teeth Season 6, when I'll be talking to some brilliant young stars of the future.